Bernie Flynn, and Sheila Vaccaro. It is 6:09. Any comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to discussion item 3A, Public Works Report.
Good evening. Don Edwards, Public Works Director. This is my first real presentation. Would you like for me to read through the line items or just answer any questions? How would you like to do this?
I've read it. Maybe just highlight anything significant.
Well, we finished the paving project, the blacktop, which I thought was significant. And the only thing remaining is painting the long lines there. So I'm pleased with how it looks. A new road, I think, always looks real nice, especially in a borough. I guess one thing to bring to your attention, number 3 is kind of near and dear to my heart, which is we're trying to address the flooding in Goose Creek. It turned out that it's actually more complicated. It's not just a problem that's in the borough. It also involves downstream from the borough. So we're investigating, and we have a meeting scheduled with DVRPC. And we're also looking for grant funding to see what we can do. So in my mind, I think I would recommend working with our neighbors with maybe a combination of a trail and a stream bank project. I think we have a number of municipalities that would be involved with this. So it would be complicated, but I can kind of envision a nice project where we had trails along the Goose Creek going through Westchester and West Goshen and whoever else would participate. And at the same time, we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. We'd open up the creek so that it would stop backing up water as much as it does right now. Do you have any questions on that one?
No, thanks. So far, so good with Gay Street closures?
Yep. I think we're pretty high on the learning curve now, so it's going well. So, and from what I understand, the business community is appreciating what we're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. McCoy. Mr. Edwards, how are we doing with installing the nodes on all the streetlights in the borough?
Yeah. We are almost finished with that project as far as installing them, but we're getting to the part where we're going to work out all the bugs, and that might take a couple months. But at that point, it should be fully implemented, where we can control things through our computer network. Right. Yes. Don Anderson is going to follow up on that one, and he's going to contact all the right people, Lenai and Pico, and find out where the problem lies so we can fix it. There's probably some other things I could talk about, but I'll leave it at that unless you...
Thank you. One, and this may be for you, Mr. Metric. The public meeting for planning that TPD was going to do, I thought there was supposed to be something in July.
Yes, that's right. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact date. It's the 4th week in July.
It's the 27th at 2 p.m.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you.
Well, excuse me, something just popped in my head.
Yes.
I know that you're fresh. I hate to say that you're new, but you're fresh in the borough.
Green. Okay.
Yeah. How is the motor pool doing with enterprise leasing? That has not come up in any discussions in over a year now. How are we doing with them? Are we satisfied? You know, it was a trial, you know, to see how we'd update our fleet as well as our police department. Did I just open a can of worms
No,
that
you
you're
did
not happy with?
I wanted
Okay.
to see if Mr. Metric wanted to address this. We did talk about it this morning at our staff meeting.
Okay.
So we are setting up a meeting with Enterprise, and we're going to evaluate the program and find the best path forward. So, I mean, the program, I mean, there's nothing horrible, but I say the jury is still out. So we're going to try to figure some things out and do what's best.
I think the short-term benefit to enrolling in that program was that we were able to update a lot of old vehicles in our fleet overnight. We didn't know gas was going to be, $4.85 a gallon, but we swapped a parking enforcement fleet that probably was averaging around 17 miles a gallon to one that averages now probably something over 40, because we implemented small four-cylinder hybrid technology. So there's been those benefits. We're looking real hard at the costs, because for me, at the end of the day, it comes down to, is there a financial benefit to doing it this way? And what's the whole life cycle cost of renting vehicles versus owning them? Still think we need to look at that issue real hard and decide where the rental vehicles is the best fit, because each department kind of uses vehicles a little differently. Public Works, they don't go very far, but the vehicles do a lot of grunting and a lot of hard work. There's a lot of torque there. Parking's a lot of stop and go traffic, and we all know police vehicles are operated differently. So we're trying to figure out what the best fit is, logistics, maintenance, and costs, and then invest in that going forward.
Yeah, when we first started the program, you know, obviously, we had a lot of questions that we didn't even know what the answers were going to be or the questions were going to be. But we knew that we were going to be able to put our employees into a safer vehicle more rapidly than keeping them 20 years like we used to do. The return on the investment, you know, we're not, you know, I'm not sure how that's shaking out, because we haven't, you're talking about it now, but we haven't talked about it in over a year. So it's a good time, you know, to have the maintenance guy, Jason, and you guys come, you know, decide whether it's feasible or whatever. I'm looking forward to the result. I don't mind being wrong, because I was the one who's pushing for that. So.
Okay? Thank you.
Item 3B is wastewater report.
Sean Mitchell, Superintendent. Things are moving along a little quicker at, Taylor Run. Everything's done, installed. The windows and doors are still back ordered. They're saying September, October, maybe November. They're not sure. It's just a shipping thing along with everything else in the world. The fencing was actually done today, so the plant is back with secure in-ground stable fencing. The driveway, they're not sure when the contractor will be there to button up the driveway that they tore up. And again, with the aqua aerobic, they are scheduled for August startup due to their shortage of manpower. So they're going to be there for a week and run it, detail it, make sure everything is spot on and going from there. Goose Creek, we started our annual clarifier inspections. We have one down. We're taking all the rust off of it, painting what we have to, replacing rubber scrapers, rubber gaskets. We're actually replacing a lot of bolts that are continuously underwater, that have been underwater for 20-some years, so they're all being replaced now. Besides that, both plants are running well and well within the NPDES permit.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Item 3C, Parks and Recreation report.
Evening, Keith Karowski, Director of Parks and Recreation. So you have the report, so I'll just touch on a couple quick things. The 4 parks, mainly the playgrounds within those parks that I came to and asked for money back, I believe it was April, ARPA funding. We are on the 4th of those parks. As Sean just mentioned, we are waiting on the borders that align the sides of the parks. We ordered that equipment in April, and I believe we may get it sometime by the end of August, and that's wishful thinking. But those projects are up. 3 of the parks are complete. The 4th Veterans Memorial is taking place this week, weather pending. So I'm really happy with the progress that Public Works will put in. Again, this was a rather large undertaking. We put in 500 cubic yards of EWF, which is the engineered wood fiber, at 4 different parks. So it was a big project. I'll be back in August to talk further about the Hoops Park Pavilion project that we've been talking about for 2 years. Again, I'll be asking for ARPA funding for that. There were some difficulties with tree protection and potential issues of where those funds may come from, whether it be out of the budget and the tree maintenance or so forth, but I think I'm working through those. To touch base on a couple of the recreation side of things, we've had a couple events since our last meeting. We had a concert at Hoops Park on July 30th, probably attended by, I'd say, between 400 and 500 people. A really nice little turnout for a Thursday evening. Last Saturday night at Greenfield Park, which is at 11 o'clock at night on a humid evening, is an extremely buggy park, as I found out, because I haven't been down there that late in a long time. But we had about 50 people turn out to see the Sandlot on a baseball field, which is kind of a cool concept. Coming up this week, we have our concert at Everhart Park on Thursday evening, a couple food trucks, some face painting. That's sponsored, that series is sponsored by Chestnut Square, right up the street here. And then on Saturday at Marshall Square, we have our Theater in the Park. We're working with the Arts and Athletics Club. They're actually based out of Coatesville, but we started working with them last year. They're putting on a performance of The Artist at Marshall Square on Saturday at 6 p.m. Again, a couple food trucks, some face painting, some clowns. Just trying to make it a little bit more than concert in the park. Get families out for a couple hours and enjoy our beautiful parks. On the horizon, in early August, I'm partnering with the police. We're kind of combining 2 events, our Touch a Truck and the Night Out Against Crime. Those events had historically taken place separately, like a week to 10 days apart, and they're very similar. They asked me to come along and get involved and provide more of a recreational aspect where they're providing the police and emergency services and those types of things. And then obviously on the significant horizon is the first time in 2 years we'll have the Chester County Restaurant Festival return to Westchester. Still planning out exactly how that's going down, but I'm feeling more and more confident. I've gotten a lot of help from our IT team, GIS. We're trying to streamline the process, getting away from paper, moving to a more of a digital format, which takes the emphasis off of the Parks and Rec department and puts it on the individual users to make sure that they're doing things correctly. They're inputting the information as opposed to me taking it from paper and putting it into like an Excel spreadsheet. Even further down the lines, the Halloween parade in October, again, that'll be the first time that's back in 2 years. So it's just nice to see these events returning to Westchester. As you guys have talked about the Christmas parade, the chili cook-offs coming back. It's just nice to kind of be putting the pandemic behind us. But if you have any questions about the parks or any events, I'd be happy to answer them.
Kathy McBratney.
Captain Bratney Park. Yes.
The mulch under the playground.
Yes, on the new side by the swings is where we had the renovations take place. Yes, and we're coming back. We're coming back around to the other side, and we're going to be, again, part of my process, which has been kind of strayed from for the last couple of years, is the EWF. One of the most key important features or safety features in any park playground is the fall zone, and those funds have not been allotted. So once we're done with the 4 that needed to help the most in those 4 areas, we're going to come back and quote unquote fluff other areas. And then next year, those fluffed up areas will become the priority and we'll have 4 parks. So we'll be up to our 8 parks that have wood chip EWF fall zones. The other ones, Greenfield doesn't need it. John O'Green Phase 1 and Phase 2, that's a rubberized fall zone. Although we are looking into remedies for that park. John O'Green, while wonderful, it's the only water play feature park in the borough. It's a double-edged sword. Water is running there constantly for 10 hours a day for 4 months out of the year. And that erosion causes issues with the seams of where the rubbers meet. And that That's been an issue. Plus, there is significant shade at that park, which doesn't allow the rubberized material to dry as nice as we would like. We have a plan in place. I hope to put that together in September as well. We want to do any work down there after the park is closed. The water play features are closed for the season, but I think we have things moving in the right direction. You got it?
One last question. I know we talked about the master plan
Yeah.
study. Is that, I know we talked about putting in the budget for next year. Is that? moving
Yes, sir.
along?
I will be presenting as part of the budget process, the capital requests for projects and plans for 2023. I've been putting this together and working with the Recreation Commission literally since like February on this plan. Our original quote unquote wish list was like 200 items. We've whittled that down to about 20, 22 items, and then we prioritize those items as well. And at the top of that list is the park master plan, something that we've never done here in the borough to the detail that it should be done. Again, we have 13 amazing parks and 45 acres of parkland that needs that attention, needs that direction. Every year there's, I don't want to call it infighting, but there's always a struggle as to who gets what, which park gets what. Certain parks with groups get maybe more love than others, and I want to see the parks that don't have the groups get the same attention that the ones that do don't. So yes, that'll be literally priority number one on our request for capital projects in 2023. We actually had a representative from Gilmore and Associates come out to the last Recreation Commission meeting virtually to give us an overview, so the Rec Commission had a better understanding of what it is we're looking to get ourselves into. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. One, did the portable restrooms get on to the property of John O'Green?
I'd hope so. They were ordered weeks ago.
Okay, because they weren't there in May. That's why I asked.
Yeah, they were, again, it was an oversight on my part. I didn't order them, but at the very beginning of June, right around the Turk's Head Music Festival, I remember speaking with Donna, and I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot that was on me. So they were ordered. There should only be one. It's on the phase 2 side.
And it was my understanding that at some point they were supposed to be permanent restrooms there, and it got put to the wayside years ago.
That is part of what I would like to see as part of the comprehensive or park master plan. We'll go through that. The biggest issue with putting something permanent in there would be the plumbing. Again, we can only go, I believe it's 24 inches subsurface before we start running into issues with DEP contained materials and so forth. Everything's okay as is now. If we start digging up and digging deep, we run into more issues.
Okay, because one of the things that concerns me is John O'Green has money spent at it every year, but it's always repairs. And it's repair of the rubber surface that's there every year. They're repairing it. And like you just said,
Yeah.
one of the reasons is the water and all of that. But there's nothing been done for it to enhance it, but repairing what obviously needs to be attended to.
Yes, and there are plans in the recreation/parks and rec department's list, our prioritized list that involve John O'Green. One of the things that we want to see come from this park master plan is each park gets represented, each neighborhood gets represented. Part of the process would be a series of meetings, focus groups, trying to figure out what it is we want, how we're going to pay for it, which grants are available, and then moving forward with those. And hopefully it would set us up for, the next 10 to 12, maybe 15 years is here's what we want to do. Now, every year plans are going to change based on Mother Nature, tree branches falls, potholes grow and sinkholes happen. But having this plan in place would give us a roadmap for the next decade of where parks should be going and what we should be doing. And that's not just, quote unquote, the big three. That's all the parks.
And two quick questions.
Sure.
One, is the church going to be there at John O'Green on the 23rd like they requested?
They put in a special event application. It hasn't been reviewed by the police yet because there was a transition with The officer I was working with, he moved, I believe, from the community engagement to detectives. So I'm looking to work with the next officer that takes that position. It would be open to the general public.
Oh, okay, because that was for next weekend, wasn't it?
It was sometime in August. It wasn't in July.
Oh, okay.
At least the special event application I have on my desk, I think is the 23rd of August, but I could be mistaken.
Okay, I thought it was 23rd of July. And what's the movie at Everhart Park this
Oh,
weekend?
awesome. I was going to send you an email about that and get a hold of Donna. We are showing Sing, and we'll have 2 food trucks, we'll have face painting, and we'll have clowns with balloon twisting. That is Friday, August 5th, starting at dusk. No, it's not for a couple weeks. You got it?
I got a follow-up with the mayor that just brought up. In the past 3 or 4 years, down at John O. Green Park, because the infrastructure was falling apart down there, we did spend about $2 million down there, didn't we?
We spent a lot of money in that neighborhood on the streetscapes, the sidewalks, the trees, the road. We spent probably $150,000 to $200,000 in the parks as well, mainly on the fall zones, correct?
Yeah, okay, so that park is not being neglected.
No,
Okay, because I remember us spending a lot of money shipping bad dirt to New Jersey because of we had to dig down so far to fix the walls and stuff.
sure. Off the top of my head, just pre-pandemic, end of 2019, 2020, we had just repaired the phase 2 side with the poured-in-place rubber, and it was probably maybe 3 years prior to that, 3 or 4 years, maybe 2016, 2017, when we completely redid the phase 1 side, which is the water play side, at a cost of about $105,000, $110,000.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. On to the action items 4A, to extend McGovern's contract at the original bid price through 2023 for hauling sludge.
The sludge hauling contract is a 5-year bid contract with 2 one-year extensions. Last year was the first one. This year, I picked up the phone to call Bill to see whether we had to bid it. He actually was picking up the phone to call me to say he doesn't want to lose the borough's account, that he wanted to actually do the extension for sludge hauling at 7 cents a gallon through December of '23. Last time it was bid out, it was 0.056 cents per gallon. Excuse me. This contract is 7. Now that the price of diesel is $5, $6 a gallon, it's not going to be 7 cents if we bid it out.
Agreed. I think we're getting a good deal. I'm in favor.
So am I.
3O. Finally, 4B, approve the June 2022 meeting minutes. Same. Any other business? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at 6:32.